In 2026, friendship has quietly become a subscription service. If you want to see your friends, you pay. For the coffee, the pub round, the ticket, the table. Somewhere along the way, we stopped meeting people and started paying for places. The problem isn't just the money. It's what paying for every interaction does to us. When connection comes with a receipt, we start seeing our friends less. We space them out. We wait for a good enough reason. And without meaning to, we trade regular warmth for occasional events. That's how people end up lonely in a world full of options. The reason we keep paying this friendship subscription is that we've been conditioned to believe that hospitality has to be perfect. We think if we invite someone over, the house must be spotless, the wine must be expensive, and the food must be 3 courses. My Gran Betty knew that perfection is the enemy of connection. She'd host people with a pile of laundry on the chair and a chipped mug in her hand. She wasn't showing off her house, she was sharing her time. In 2026, we need to learn Scruffy Hospitality, lowering our standards for the house so we can raise our standards for the friendship. I felt this myself. I'd scroll through messages from people I genuinely loved and think, I can't afford a night out right now, financially or emotionally. Not because I didn't care, but because modern socializing had turned connection into a project. But Gran Betty never accepted that deal. She was the most social woman in the village, and I never once saw her open her purse in public. Gran Betty had a rule: never pay for a seat you can provide at home. She understood that real status doesn't come from the size of the bill you split, but from the value you bring to the table. Gran Betty was the master of what I now call the social swap. It followed 3 simple rules. First, bring something you already have: time, food, or a skill. Second, make it mutual, not transactional. No keeping score. And third, make the company the point, not the activity. One of her closest friends was Mrs. Harrison, who was a wizard with a sewing machine, but couldn't boil an egg. Gran Betty, on the other hand, could make a feast out of practically nothing. Gran Betty didn't pay for a tailor, and Mrs. Harrison didn't pay for a caterer. They'd sit at the kitchen table while Mrs. Harrison donned Gran Betty's good coat, and Gran Betty served up a steaming bowl of larder soup. No money changed hands, but both left richer. Gran Betty called it trading talents. She used to say, if you've got a skill in your hands, you've got currency in your pocket. Before I go further, think of that one friend you've been ghosting simply because you can't afford the night out they usually suggest. Type their first name in the comments. Let's see how many of us are sitting in that same lonely boat today. Today we're told the only thing worth offering is money. But in 2026, we all have digital skills. Instead of a £15 latte, suggest a skill swap. Maybe you're an expert at prompt engineering for AI, and they're great at gardening. You could help them digitally declutter their cloud storage while they help you fix a bike. You get the social time, and no one goes home shortchanged. Now, you might wonder how to start this without it feeling strange. Gran Betty was the queen of the confident invite. She never made it sound like a second best option. She'd say, I've got a fresh loaf coming out of the oven at 3, come and help me eat it. She made the invite about the abundance she had, not the money she was saving. In 2026 we can do the same. Don't say, I'm too broke to go to the bar. Say, I've got a great new board game and some amazing tea. Come over and let's actually be able to hear each other talk. When you lead with excitement, people follow with relief. We often go to the pub because we think it's easier than hosting. But Gran Betty had a secret for the days when her knees ached or her head was full. The side-by-side swap. She'd invite Martha over not to entertain her, but just to be in the same room. Martha would bring her knitting, Gran Betty would have her mending, and they'd sit in silence for half an hour before the tea was poured. In 2026, we call this parallel play. It's the ultimate low-energy social win. Invite a friend over to just exist in your space while you both catch up on life admin or reading. No pressure, no bill, and the dishes take 2 minutes. Gran Betty also had a concept called the community pot. If someone dropped by unexpectedly, she'd just add another cup of water and a handful of lentils to the stew. It was Scruffy Hospitality. It's telling a friend, I'm not making a special meal, but there's plenty of what I'm already having. It removes the pressure and makes hanging out a regular part of a Tuesday night. Gran Betty also loved a party, but she hated party prices. Before any dance, she'd host a foundation feed. She'd serve a massive slow-cooked stew or heavy toast. By the time they arrived at the event, they were full and immune to overpriced food. They'd buy one small drink to be polite and spend the night dancing. Gran Betty used to wink and say, "A full belly is the best shield against a thin wallet." Before your next big night out, host a foundation feed. Tell your friends you're making stretchy tacos and invite them round early. You become the generous host and no one ends the night with a £70 bill. Sometimes a social swap isn't an option and someone invites you to something expensive. Gran Betty had a phrase for this. "My purse doesn't stretch that far this month, but my heart is with you." In 2026, we've lost the ability to be honest about our limits. But here's the secret. Being honest about your budget is a form of intimacy. It tells your friend, "I trust you enough to tell you the truth." Usually, you'll find they were worried about the cost too. Gran Betty never went for tea. She went for a look. She'd ring her friend Martha and say, "The roses are out at the Manor Park. Let's go see if they're better than ours." In 2026, we default to pay to play because we're tired. But curiosity is free. We used to have third spaces, village halls and porches, where you could exist without a receipt. Now, every space is retail. By adopting the social swap, you are creating your own private third space. You are reclaiming your living room as a place of commerce-free connection. A social swap at Gran Betty's house usually ended with someone leaving with a bag of extra. Maybe it was apples, a book she'd finished, or a coat that didn't fit. She used her social time to redistribute abundance. In 2026, our houses are full of things we don't use. Instead of meeting at a shopping center, turn your social swap into a mini circulation. Swap books, plants, or clothes. You arrive with a friend and you leave with a new item, all without a single contactless payment. The ultimate social swap in 2026 isn't just about money, it's about attention. Gran Betty never had to compete with a smartphone for Martha's attention. When you host a social swap, you make a pact. I'm giving you my home, you give me your presents. Gran Betty also believed that being a good guest was a kind of quiet wealth. She'd bring a jar of pickled onions, or a cutting from a geranium. She said, "A handmade gift opens doors that a shop-bought one just knocks on." Bring a homemade larder salad or fresh bread. It costs pence, but it's what people remember. Now, there is one trap, the scorecard sin. If you start counting exactly how many potatoes you gave versus how many buttons they sewed, the magic dies. This only works if you operate from abundance, not accounting. We don't need more venues, we need more living rooms. We don't need better plans, we need easier ones. Gran Betty understood that money is just one way to pay for things. You can also pay with your time, your skills, and your hospitality. In 2026, the social swap is a quiet rebellion. It's choosing warmth over optics. I want us to start a social swap log. Every time you choose a living room over a venue, write down what you saved, not just in pounds, but in stress. By the end of the year, you won't just have a bigger savings account, you'll have a journal. The greatest trick the 2026 economy played on us was making us believe that our worth as a friend is tied to our buying power. But you don't remember the price of the coffee. You remember the person who sat with you when you were sad, or the friend who made you laugh until your tea came out of your nose. So, what's one thing you already have that you could trade this week for a good conversation? Like, share and subscribe to hear more wisdom from Gran Betty. I have put a link to the series in the description to hear all Gran Betty's tales. Stay social, stay savvy, and remember, the best things in life aren't things. And they certainly don't come with a service charge.